The room was silent, so silent you could hear the shuffle of papers and the faint hum of the overhead lights. All eyes were locked on one woman standing at the center of the room. Stacey Abrams, known for her commanding presence and fiery rhetoric, suddenly broke the silence with a thunderous voice that echoed across the chamber. "Get out, John Kennedy! You don't belong here!" Gasps filled the air. Some people looked away in discomfort, others sat frozen in shock. It wasn't every day that someone raised their voice in such a public and political setting, and certainly not towards someone like Senator John Kennedy, a man who, though often underestimated for his country charm and blunt manner of speaking, carried a reputation for piercing through arguments with surgical precision. Kennedy didn't flinch. He didn't blink. Instead, he leaned back slightly in his chair, his eyes fixed on Abrams, calm as a still lake in the middle of a storm. For a moment, time felt suspended. The room, divided between tension and curiosity, waited for his reply. And then, Kennedy spoke. His voice wasn't raised, nor was it trembling. It was steady, deliberate, and full of weight. "Ma'am," he began, pausing just long enough to command the full attention of everyone in the room, "when someone tells another person to leave a place where truth ought to be spoken, it usually says more about the fear in their heart than about the person they're shouting at." The silence grew even deeper. You could almost feel the air tighten. Abrams' face, still flushed with anger, shifted ever so slightly as Kennedy's words cut through the noise like a blade of honesty through thick fog. But the story didn't begin in that room. No, this clash was the culmination of weeks of rising tension, political battles, and heated exchanges. Stacey Abrams had long positioned herself as a champion of change, drawing energy from crowds that admired her fight and persistence. She believed she was standing for the people who felt unheard. And John Kennedy, on the other hand, was no stranger to confrontation himself. While he carried a folksy demeanor, there was nothing soft about his convictions. He believed in truth spoken plainly, even when it hurt. That combination, Abrams' fiery energy and Kennedy's cool resolve, was bound to spark conflict sooner or later. The confrontation erupted during a public hearing on election integrity, one of the most emotionally charged topics in the nation. Abrams spoke passionately, her voice trembling at times, painting vivid pictures of injustice and urgency. She demanded sweeping reforms, changes that she argued were necessary for democracy to survive. But Kennedy, true to his nature, had listened quietly. He let her speak without interruption, his head slightly tilted, his fingers laced together in front of him. When his turn finally came, he didn't counter with fire. Instead, he asked questions. Simple questions. Clear questions. Questions that demanded clarity, not